6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you I'm sick of being normal? I'm sick of being average. I'm sick of being mortal. I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
How are y'all doing tonight? We're probably going to do a short show, maybe only an hour, maybe a little bit less. I'm not really sure. I don't really have a lot to talk about today, especially when it comes to anti-apologetics or religious stuff. There hasn't really been a lot of religious content the last 3 days. Most of the religious people have been talking politics. Really? I just started talking. You were, what, why? Okay. And also, I need to work out. So, let's go over the basics. It looks like Trump won. Divine intervention? I don't think so. But, you know, a lot of the Christians out there are talking about the sovereignty of the Lord, you know, and picking the leader. Let's be very clear. If that's really what they're going to argue, that means that God also chose the previous leader, which was Biden. And if you're going to talk about the sovereignty of the Lord to pick a leader, you got to understand that means every leader God allows to be leader, whether the leader is good or evil. So the rhetoric either needs to be toned down or needs to be honestly assessed. I did vote for Trump, just to let everyone know. Spooky. I didn't like Kamala. My wife is a huge Trump supporter. Hi. So yeah, that's just where it's at. But yeah, no, my wife was super jubilant and super happy that that he won. Hi. What? I'm working. You're gonna make it really hard for me to work if you keep on trying to get all snuggly and cuddly. Let's see, what else? I don't know. I wanted to talk about like 2 or 3 other things, and then suddenly my brain went blank. I don't really know what we're gonna watch tonight. I actually, to be really honest, want to do some Tiff Jab stuff, but her show is on a different platform, and I don't want to take away from her audience. Not that my audience and her audience overlap, but she's doing some political stuff again, and I do appreciate her political opinions. Yes. Hi. Okay. Hello. In case you're wondering, she's putting her whiskers right here. Yes, I know. Okay, let's see what we were going to look at tonight. Let's pick at least 2 or 3 things. So Basecamp was talking against democracy, which I found interesting. I guess they assumed that they were going to lose. GothX was doing some really good stuff today as well. Um, Amalia's doing Celebrities React. Let me see. What do I want to do? The left admits why the Democrats left. You know what? Let's do a little bit of God Bless Studios. I think that'll be a good watch for today, and we'll pick something else as well.
I posted Twitter, I posted on X to check on your liberal friends. Okay, I didn't say that facetiously. I've been hitting up my liberal friends to just see how they're doing. A lot of them are like, "Man, I'm bummed out. I'm disappointed. I have some concerns." And if you don't have liberal friends and family, I mean, hopefully that's not because of you pulling back, and that's because of them pulling back, which I don't think we should be doing over this sort of stuff. Somebody could be wrong, but we could acknowledge that they're wrong while saying, well, you're wrong, but you actually want what I want, which is what's best for most people. And if you look at people who you disagree with as like, they want what's best for most people, even though they're wrong, like that's the heart posture we should have, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So having said that, I've been checking in on people, and a lot of people are like confused. Like they're like, we don't understand. How did we miss it? What's going on? And I wanted to kind of explain what I think most people missed. I told you guys on the stream, I said, if he doesn't get elected, I'm out of touch. If he doesn't get elected, I'm out of touch.
Yeah.
But the inverse of that is,
You're in touch.
if he does get elected, that means some of you guys are out.
If you actually go and watch, so the original reactions in the media, like the actual official media, not us, not the social stuff, the it was pretty bad. I mean, they were in heavy denial, but as the day went on and the more and the people who were able to digest it more came onto the air, they were saying all the things the centrists, the middle of the road types, the classic liberals, and the old school Republicans have been saying the whole time, which is people don't care about these other issues. They care about the food on their table. And people are tired of being insulted and said that they're evil, or, that they're German soldiers from World War II. Like, they're just tired of hearing it. And we don't care if you don't like us. Like, that's not, and I hate to use the us thing, but that's basically what a lot of journalists have been, or commenters have been realizing, is that, like, hey, what we've been saying for the last 6 years is true. You keep insulting us, expecting us to support you. Well, when you tell us don't support you anymore, we're not. And so we didn't vote. We didn't vote for you. That includes black men. That includes Hispanic men. That includes women, like Christian women, married women. Like, once you tell us that you don't want us in your party, and you don't want to support us, and you think we're the enemy, why would we still support you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Now, I will say this. I have been predicting among my friends and a little bit online that when it comes to the economy thing, when it comes to the inflation, when it comes to groceries costing so much, that always loses people elections. But I got a little doubtful in the last 2 days before the election. I'm going to be really blunt. I got a little worried when I started hearing about the 1% margin on Trump. So I was like, well, maybe Trump's going to lose. Now, to be clear, I still don't like Trump. I've never liked Trump. I still don't like him. I think I voted against him, but when America voted him in the first time, I guess that's now, 8 years ago, I thought that was a mistake, and that led directly to where we are now. But this time around, Trump was the better candidate, all around. Not just in experience, not just in what he wanted, but in what he represented and what he was presenting. He was the better candidate, so I voted for him. I didn't have to hold my nose to do it. Wasn't, but it also, just like Shapiro himself said, 8 years ago, we were in a different situation. And 8 years ago, there's no way, gun to my head, you couldn't get me to vote for Trump. This time around, without a better candidate, you couldn't get me not to vote for Trump. I'm not saying we needed a better candidate than Biden or we needed a better candidate than Kamala. You needed to present us with a better candidate than Trump. Trump's a terrible candidate. Give us someone better than Trump. But if you can't, then the problem's you, not us. So I voted for Trump. And that's just how it is. And that's the bottom line. Anyway, let's get back to this. I'm going to have to blow my nose and put some spray on. I'm going to let it play, though.
You don't know what's happening. You're checked out. You're in an echo chamber. Because the rest of us saw what was happening. We knew, we saw the shifts. We saw the tone. We see the country shifting right? And so if you don't know what's happening, that means you should do some internal inventory and not do it as over half the country is fascist and racist and bigots. That's a simplistic view of it. So, to her credit, one of my favorite lefties, Crystal from Breaking Points.
And I want to be a little bit more clear on that. The same groceries that 8 years ago cost me $120. I don't mean different groceries. I mean from the same grocery store, the whole thing. Now cost me $240. I have pet cats. I have a father with dementia that I have to pay for. And when my wife's here, I have to pay for her food. Oh, yeah, Eric. There's no doubt. I'll get into that in a second. And so not only do I have to buy my own groceries, but I have to buy my father's groceries. And I have to buy my father's supplies, which he has dementia. He's 86 years old. That includes diapers. That includes bed mats. That includes other items that have gone up in price. That means that I have to now choose between food and sanitary supplies. Even when I was in a job that earned anywhere between $68,000 and $75,000 a year, and living in a paid off house, a 5-bedroom house that's paid off, and having a very fair 0 interest rate car loan, I still had to choose between buying my father sanitary things, between getting my cats food and litter, and me having the health food I need to control my diabetes. Do you know which one I chose to go away from? Eating the healthy food that keeps me alive. Because I need to keep my father alive and because I need to care for my cats. My wife was not willing to make those compromises, and she went back to China because they're not having an economic collapse there. No matter what the world markets might say about China, inland, they're not having a drastic crisis. My wife has multiple times throughout this past year told me to just sell the house, take my father to China, and live there. The problem is that there's no guarantee that that would work. I don't have citizenship there. They could kick us out at any time. But she has made me that offer multiple times. I have a career waiting for me at a university in China. I have a career teaching English. I have a career teaching philosophy. I have a career teaching writing in another country. And I have to stay here because I choose to, because I love this nation. But it is hard to survive when inflation is as bad as it is. Now, one of my viewers, Eric, mentioned something that is super true about the Hispanic culture, something that a lot of people don't understand. You kept on calling us Latinx. F you guys, dude. That was super humiliating and insulting. It damaged your reputation with all Hispanics. You invented a slur that none of us wanted. That hurts you more than you can imagine with Hispanic men and with Hispanic mothers. It was a dumb move, and you shouldn't have done it, and you tried to force it upon us. It wasn't good. And so doing this kind of stuff, lost you the election. And I'm sorry that it did, but it really did. I live in a county that has, for as long as I have been alive and aware of politics, has always voted Democrat. For the first time in history of me being alive, it has voted for the Republican. A county that for the last 44 years has been a Democratic county flipped and voted for Trump. This is a county of immigrants. This is a county of Hispanics. This is a county of women. This is a county of Catholics. Catholics are a historical Democratic stronghold. Democrats can count on the Catholic vote, and this county voted for the Republican. I think the only Republican they didn't vote for was Ted Cruz. You royally screwed up. You can't keep insulting us and keep telling us you don't want us and then expect us to support you.
Who, oddly enough, threw on a MAGA hat today, which we're going to look at, actually has the humility, and props to her. This is not a conservative. She's not a Trumper. She's not a Christian. She's not a person of faith. She is Bernie Sanders level progressive.
Whoa.
Had the humility to acknowledge exactly what she got wrong. And I thought it was so refreshing. And I wanted to give her props. And to analyze it. And those of you guys that are checking in, at like the whatever 20% of you guys that watch my channel that still lean left, or 30%, I'm assuming it's not a huge majority, and are like, how did this happen? She's gonna explain it to you.
Hello.
I'm gonna let somebody from the left explain to you exactly how it happened, and then we're gonna look at some other stuff. So throw the bit on of her put on the MAGA hat. I think this is the beginning, right?
That there's a little bit of unfinished business.
Oh, where
we
is
have
it?
Here.
Oh, get the screenshot.
Ryan's ready.
It's ready. It's ready. Let's see it.
This actually happened.
It happened.
It's happening.
Are you guys happy?
How's
Are
it
you
look?
happy? Not good. All right.
Not good. I hate it.
Oh, it looks great.
Poor guy.
It's
Ryan is struggling here, man. He does not find any of this entertaining or exciting. Okay.
He's worried about his daughters and his wife.
I'm excited to bring to you guys our first ever Bless God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th in Southern California. The Beat's very own Alan Parr and Jen Parr. She's left. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, they're all more or less anti-in March 27th, 28th, 29th here, beautiful North County, San Diego, Carlsbad, California. Sagar is happy. Sagar is fairly spoken out. But even Sagar is like still pro-choice.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah. They're pretty moderate.
they're moderate, but she's left. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, they're all more or less anti-Israel. There are all, none of them, except with the exception of Emily, are like people of faith. So these are they're just doing their best. And listen to her explanation of what she got wrong, and maybe we'll go a little deeper on this. And again, this is for those of you guys that are like, I don't understand what happened. Maybe you send this to your family members that are trying to figure out, and maybe they're really concerned, they're fearful right now.
Yeah.
And as a way to have dialogue, maybe you don't send them a Ben Shapiro, a Matt Walsh clip. You send them this clip, and you go, "Hey, this is what happened." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is why. So listen to what Crystal concedes here. Props to her. Go ahead.
So let me say what I think happened and also why I got it so wrong. Because I think I
Pause
overlearned
it.
the lesson.
So first of all, props to her. You got it wrong.
Right at the gate.
Props. That's awesome. Go ahead.
Of 2022, where we were going in like, this is going to be a red, like, it is a rat. Look at these numbers, the economic numbers, inflation's bad, Biden's unpopular, like, this is going to be a bloodbath.
And Republicans won the popular vote, to be fair.
But it wasn't. And, you know, bucked historic trends,
Yep.
Democrats really outperform. And
So
you
she's
look
talking
at,
about
you know,
2022. They thought there was going to be a red wave in 2022 because Biden did so bad with the Afghanistan withdrawal and all the goofy stuff.
So-
that didn't happen. This is after Roe.
They were predicting
A red wave in 2022 that did not happen.
what was happening in 2022.
There was.
Okay, so I'm going to ignore that and just move on. But I want to be very clear. So Trump won by 295 votes. Okay, electoral votes. 295 to 226. I get that she's already exited the race. I get that it's already done. But this was ugly, man. If you look at the individual states and you look at places that have and individual counties, like, my goodness, man, this is brutal. Uh, Wisconsin flipped red. Michigan flipped red. Pennsylvania flipped red. Georgia flipped red. But you get even into like individual counties, the amount of red in California is amazing. The amount of blue counties that turned red in Texas is amazing. You got border states where you have border counties where have always been predominantly blue, even if the rest of the state is red, which turned red. Like, you've lost the Senate, you've lost the House. Right now, this is actually a very dangerous time. This is not good. I am a Catholic, I am a Christian, I'm a Republican. I do not like that right now Republicans control the House, the Senate, the executive office, and on top of that, control the judiciary. That is not good. We need to have opposition. Otherwise, not only will the good ideas get through, but all the bad ideas will get through, and they'll get through without any challenge. The county map on the CBS website highlights this as well. Eric, are you also from the RGV by any chance? Because I can talk more specifics of our area, if need be. But you're talking about there being no stopgaps now for any Republican idea. You've lost so bad. You've lost touch with the culture so bad that there is not just a simple majority, but a strong majority in the Senate and the House of Republicans. Every idea, good and bad, can get through. Even if you're a Democrat, you want at least one of either the House or the Senate to be controlled by the opposite party. So that way the bad ideas get filtered out and only the best ideas get all the way through. If you're a Republican, you want at least one branch, it doesn't matter what branch of the government, controlled by the Democrats. So again, you can filter out the bad ideas. We all have bad ideas. We all have great ideas. We all have bad ideas. We all have good ideas. And you want your wife, if you're your wife or your husband, to argue against you when you have a bad idea, to tell you, hey, you're about to make an ass of yourself. You want your kids to give you new information and say, hey, that's not cool. Hey, don't wear that outfit out because it doesn't look cool anymore. You need to have these arguments. That way the good stuff stays and you can still push it through, but the bad stuff gets filtered out. The old stuff, the stuff that isn't relevant anymore, gets filtered out and new material comes in. Right now, that Republicans control everything, it's not good for the United States of America. It's just not. You need healthy opposition. You need a good opponent. To put it in Christian terms, iron sharpens iron. And there's no iron right now. There's nothing to push against. The Democrats were so out of touch with what actual Americans care about, that now they are feckless. They are useless. They have no standing. It's pathetic. And you all did it to yourselves. You called us monsters. You called us hateful. You called us all these other stuff. You know, like it was a mistake. Oh, wow, that's cool. That's awesome. Well, there you go. So yeah, you live in Virginia, and it flipped to blue. My county turned red. So let's do this. So Here's Texas. Down here is always consistently blue, and it's now red. And if you want to see that, check it out. I mean, you guys really messed up, man. Anyway.
Was a massive, awful withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
There was a massive economic issue. Biden was unpopular. They were expecting the 2022 Senate, House, or governors, massive red rape. That did not happen. And they're saying that didn't happen because of Roe getting overturned.
Okay.
So people went into this election thinking
same thing.
Hey, women are upset, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And then they're all shocked and disillusioned right now because they're like, oh my gosh, half the country hates me and they're fascist, right?
Yeah.
So listen to what Crystal goes on to explain.
At who did the worst, and it was people who were really bad on abortion in states that had, as a live issue. And you also had, this issue of extremism and the Stop the Steal candidates, people like Carrie Lake, et cetera. And so you look at that and you're like, oh, I need to adjust my view because I previously was saying, like, this stuff is not really the thing to run on. Stick to the bread and butter economics, populist economics, like that's been the mantra. I look at 2022, I'm like, my view was wrong. So I need to adjust. Like, these issues are more important to people than I thought they would, and Roe really reshaped the electorate in a way that was much more precipitous than I expected. But you have two things that are different in 23 things. Hopefully I can remember three.
The sound effects are really annoying me, so I'm going to move on. Okay, let's see. What else? What do we want to look at? Let's do a little bit of this. The View was just ugly. We'll do a little bit of this one. We'll do a little bit of The View. And then we'll probably call it a night. Like I said, it's going to be a short one today. And tomorrow we'll get back into anti-apologetics.
Here, we have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And what a great honor this is.
He's also leading the popular vote as well. It is the third battleground state he flipped after winning Georgia and Pennsylvania. The races in Arizona, Michigan, and Nevada are still too close to call. Vice President Kamala Harris has not yet made a statement about.
So many questions. I came onto the set and Willie said, hey,
Joe, we'll start with your take.
Well, I mean, so much to go through, so many questions. I came onto the set and Willie said, hey, by the way, because we were talking about the historic nature of this sweep.
Yeah.
And Willie said, do you know, he only lost Illinois by 4 points.
4 points in
New Jersey by 5. I mean, you talk about we had talked about a
even
red
where
wave
he
2
lost,
years
he
ago
gained.
that never materialized. This is I've got to say, this is the biggest red wave I've seen since Ronald Reagan's 49 state victory in 1984. It seems every Republican across the country improved.
Donald Trump is on track to sweep the 7 battleground states. We still have 3 outstanding. We'll see how.
Obviously, all of this is done, so it doesn't even matter at this point. But a day earlier, everyone who was talking got it all completely 100% wrong. And NBC, ABC, MSNBC, CNN, all of them got it 100% wrong.
How those go, but he did better almost everywhere. In every county where the hope from the Harris campaign was that she would make up ground on Joe Biden's suburbs, Donald Trump actually did better. We'll break down some of these numbers, but the gender gap was not nearly as wide as the Harris campaign needed to be, and Latino men came out in force for Donald Trump.
Boy, what a huge difference that made. And, that was really just part of the stunning outcome. I mean, America, first of all, is for more to the right than any time in our lifetimes, even going back to the Reagan years. And Donald Trump won in dominating fashion. But he did that along with other Republican candidates in the Senate races and the House races. They're likely to dominate all branches of government for the next several years. He became only the second who would swing the margin for Harris in the blue wall states.
I skipped ahead because I don't want any music in the background.
Opposite actually ended up being true. Donald Trump won in a rout across Big Ten country, taking Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin without a serious fight. And now, with expectations rising in the Harris camp in the final days of the campaign in a historic ground game, when you look at the depth of it and the reach of it, this race still ended up being over before it began. And Jonathan Lemire,
I was expecting to get to
again,
at least the day before anything was announced, but I was probably expecting next week or at least Friday. I can't believe it was over the night of. Like, that's insane. That's crazy.
The scope and scale of this victory is sweeping, and we can focus. By the way, we can focus on Donald Trump if we would like, but this goes so far beyond Donald Trump. Make no mistake, his victory, again, historic. But you look at Republicans across the nation. You look at Handley, how.
You know, it's interesting. To say he's a neighbor is kind of incorrect, but Elon Musk lives in the Rio Grande Valley, and he was out campaigning in Cameron County, which, for those that don't know, is like 30 minutes away from where I live. So, and on I guess on the 3rd of November, Ted Cruz, who didn't win this county, and Ben Shapiro were on my bike trail drinking beers at a brewery that's right down from where I live. I think it's like 6 miles from where I live. They were on my bike trail drinking beers, trying to get the Hispanic vote. So Trump did the work, man. Whether it's the McDonald's thing, the truck driver thing, the trash, the trash man being the garbage man, representing the garbage people. Trump did the classic. What he didn't do in the first time that he ran, he did the classic politician thing. He went and he talked to the people. He was shaking hands and kissing babies. I mean, that's, he was having a beer with people and talking to people and trying on their shoes for 15 minutes at a time. Like, that's something that really does speak to people. There's a reason why it's very classic politics. And Kamala just didn't have it.
Handily, they're winning states. As Willie said, you look at Illinois, a 4-point margin. Illinois, a 5-point margin in New Jersey. This is a Democratic Party that has been just wiped out this morning.
Yeah, Republicans steamrolled. They have captured the Senate. The House still up for grabs, but those close to Speaker Johnson think the Republicans are on track to have that as well, potentially handing Donald Trump a unified Republican Washington, D.C. when he takes office. It was stunning. We thought this election could take days to be counted. It was over late last night, early this morning now with the official call. You mentioned the Iowa poll that so many Democrats had hung so much hope on in recent days that had Harris up 3 points. Right now, the margin for Trump in Iowa is about 14 or 15 points. This is a 16 or 17 point miss.
Unbelievable.
A 16 or 17 point miss there. There was not
sitting in there, and it certainly fed into his victimhood. And that will be seen. Those trials where he's sitting in court all day will be seen as a.
So I've been using the Bloomberg political map for my information. I got rid of cable, so I don't have CNN or MSNBC anymore. I've downloaded the apps, but the apps want you to connect through your cable provider, which I'm like, that's not what I'm doing. So if it's not available during the free view of the app and it's not available on YouTube, I haven't seen it. But I've been using the Bloomberg app, and the political map that they have has been really accurate, at least from my perception.
An as-kind contribution for Donald Trump, because there is no doubt those trials this summer were a defining moment in this campaign.
Come back over here.
And defining not in the way that obviously a lot of opponents of Donald Trump hope they would be. There will still be, I think historians will be grappling with a lot of questions going forward, including the question of how someone who is a convicted, first ever convicted criminal convictions against a former president could win in this fashion. And I think, we've all sat here and talked about the extraordinarily, for a lot of people, extraordinarily offensive performance of Donald Trump in these last 2 weeks. The things that he did and said seemed like he was, we literally just sitting here the last few days ago. I'm like, how can this man, the way he's performing in the closing days of this campaign, how can this guy get elected? He seems like he doesn't want to get elected. The things he's performing, miming oral sex on a microphone stand, and all the rest of it, the enemy within, the various things that provoked John Kelly to come out and say the things he said, all of that stuff, in the end didn't matter. And I think one of the things that didn't matter in averages were Donald Trump in a lot of these 3 successive elections,
especially in the upper Midwest states.
Right.
They just not working. But Mika, again, you go through it, you look at the final weeks of the campaign. It was not only the public polling, which most campers all along, because they were saying we're getting more votes from Hispanic men, we're getting more votes from black men, we are going to do better. And they were never internally, they were never worried.
Trump was doing great outreach to Black Americans. I don't think he was doing great outreach to Hispanic Americans, but you had even Vance doing very subtle outreach to LGBTQ voters. So this is not a political Republican conservative campaign from like 20 years ago. Just being really blunt, I mean, they were really going for everyone. Anyone who would vote for them, they were taking. So, all right, let's go back. Let's go look at the View real quick, and then we're gonna watch. I don't really care about that. We'll check to see if anyone has anything interesting on the speech Kamala just gave.
So what happened last night? Yeah, go ahead.
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made.
I think all of the entertainment world is just off track and not connected to the rest of America. Levy really said it correct. Gibson said it correct. I mean, there are other viewpoints than the liberal viewpoint. There are other viewpoints than the progressive viewpoint. And if you're throwing away your audience, like movies have been doing, like video games have been doing, like comic books did 10 years earlier, yeah, people will stop reading your stuff. People will stop watching your movies. People will stop watching your show. I think this was the worst ratings for any election for CNN. Like, I mean, stop insulting your audience. The people who watch you because they trust you. There's an expression, I think it was said by Denzel Washington, which is there's a difference between a TV actor and a movie actor, which is a movie actor, they pay to see you. A TV actor, they're inviting you into their home. And they have to really love you to invite you into your home. They have to trust you. And once you violate that trust, you've lost your audience.
I think that his diehard...
Once you're not protecting the characters, once you're not protecting the storyline, once you're not advocating for the audience, you're done. You're dead in the water. And Kamala found that out. She threw away the Christians. Well, guess who's a huge voting bloc in America? Christians. You threw away the men. Well, guess who's a huge voting bloc in America? Men. So this was ridiculous. It was a dumb move, and The View is part of the problem.
fans don't care what he does. He lies and lies constantly.
It is a moment to listen to the voters. And this, I have to say, I've always thought he could win. And I think there are some lessons from it.
The View co-hosts recapping the 2024 presidential election results.
Know what we would get from a Trump administration. We know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry not about myself, actually. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. Event.
Not really. That hasn't happened yet. It might happen, but it hasn't happened. Trump literally had Vance reaching out to LGBTQ voters. Who knows? You might actually get advancements of rights under Trump. True. Right now, all branches of government are controlled by Republicans, and most Republicans are Christians, are religious of some kind. So, yeah, there's a chance you might lose some rights. But there's also a chance that these new Republicans who are more friendly to gay people might help solidify the rights you currently have and might expand some. Yeah, true. Maybe the rights that they expand might not be directed directly to your demographic. It might be a wider group of rights that they're going to make available because they're not focusing on you, but you still get the right. This is not 1992. We're in 2024. Most Republicans have a gay friend or a lesbian daughter. So, relax. It might not be as bad as you think it's going to be. It might actually be good for everyone. We don't know yet. It hasn't happened yet, and none of us can see the future.
Someone who participated in an insurrection from becoming president of the United States. I think that going forward, the convicted felon box on employment applications better be taken off. I just think
listen to the voters. And this, I have to say, I've always thought he could win. I thought in the final stretch she might eke it out. I didn't expect it to be this resounding. I would be lying if I sat at the table and defended Donald.
We can be sad. Tomorrow, we stand up and we continue. We have every right as Americans, because we love this country, we have the right and the duty to speak up and denounce abuses of power, to be vigilant. And so I invite all Americans to.
She did that.
So why didn't you do that with Obama? Or why didn't you do that with Biden? Why are you only doing it when it's Republicans?
This in 2 months. She was everywhere. She talked to everybody, and people didn't come out. I don't know why, and it doesn't even matter. He's now the president. I'm still not going to say his name. That's not going to change.
You know what? I'm going to chance it. We're going to do some Brian Holdsworth.
Campaigning now. I don't understand how you guys tolerate the nonstop campaigning. In Canada, where I live, it's like
Oh, I'm playing with fire here. This is me tempting the devil. All right, here we go. Let's see.
an election gets announced and there's maybe 1 to 2 months worth of campaigning and then we get it done and we move on.
Brian, we've had a long-standing feud that you probably don't even know about because you probably don't even remember I existed, even though you killed my YouTube career. Sweetheart, lovely, cutie pie. I'd like to propose a treaty over cigars and whiskey. You might prefer something a little bit more fizzy. That's fine. I'm down with that. You know, you wanna do some hot dog it. What are they? I can't remember them anymore. There's a drink. It's not Zima. Zima's like too old school. Oh, it's right next to my beer. So when I go to the bookstore, when I go to the beer aisle, there's beer right here, and it's Shiner Bock. That's my beer. My beer of choice is Shiner Bock. My next beer of choice is going to be Guinness. I love Guinness. A good dark Guinness, delicious. But there's a It looks like White Claw. White Claw. It's White Claw. That's what it is. We'll get some White Claw. I like White Claw. I think it's great. It's refreshing. It's alcoholic. It's fun. We'll drink some White Claw. You can talk to me about whatever they talk about in Canada. Hockey, bears, I don't know. I can talk to you about what we talk about in Texas. Mesquite, cactus, rattlesnakes, you know, that kind of thing. You know, we can have a conversation. We can play a little bit of video games. You want to play some Baldur's Gate? I'll be Karlak. You can be, I don't know, you can create a paladin character, okay? So you don't have to do any magic or anything evil. We can have ourselves a little fun, you know? We can make a little peace and, you know, maybe I can get popular again on YouTube and do well and get monetized because I kind of need the money. I'm just saying. Let's squash the beef. The redhead. I have a thing for redheads. Honest truth. I'm attracted to red. I married an Asian woman. It's true. But I always liked Mary Jane. Okay. Who's another great redhead that I like? I don't know. There's like a supermodel or something. You know. I like redheads. I want to marry a woman named Heather. Let's do it. I'm not saying that you're Heather, but or that we can get gay married because you're Catholic and I'm Catholic, and that's kind of a problem with the church. But we could figure something out, okay? So why don't you reach out to me? Your people, call my people. I don't have any people, but we'll figure that out too. And let's smoke a peace pipe.
Your politicians spend so much time campaigning that it's a wonder that they...
I don't like that your eyes aren't green. Can we have you wear contacts? It's my fantasy, and I want you to wear green contacts. And I want you to shave the beard. I kind of need you to shave the beard. I don't like body hair, and the beard thing is, you know, call me hypocritical.
They actually get anything done in their job. Maybe they don't, for all I know, but that's certainly a concern I would have as an American, and that does seem to be reflected in the polls. That you guys are concerned.
And the last time that me and you ever interacted, I had hair, and you look shitty. Now you have hair, and I look shitty. It's like a match made in somewhere, you know.
Concerned about the integrity of your democracy.
You could go visit Sodom and Gomorrah. We'll go to Israel together. What do you say?
But I also thought that, you know, as a Canadian, it might be...
That last joke was for you, BS.
Beneficial for me to share some thoughts that might be refreshing after just being inundated by the constant spin cycle of your own media. Perhaps an outside perspective might breathe some applicable and relevant to your particular America. It's true of Canada. It's true of Europe as well. In our interests in mind as our adversaries, along with the media who seems to support.
I want to listen to you, but you're taking too long to get to a point. I freaking do that. I'm not supposed to cuss anymore, so I can keep my monetization. But let's move a little faster, please.
Support their interests. Voters, working class voters, whether they voted for Donald Trump or Harris, whether they vote red or blue, should see their neighbors as their allies rather than their adversaries. People who aren't citizens, who haven't contributed in some meaningful way to earn their citizenry and therefore earn an opportunity to lifetime. Is there ever a candidate? Maybe J.D. Vance would kind of qualify in this category, but there's very rarely a candidate.
J.D. Vance might be by. We're just saying. He has a goon couch. He definitely 100% watches Bow. He watches Bow the Well. We know this. We don't literally know this, but we know this. We know. And if he watches Bow the Well, he means he watches other VTubers. I'm thinking Philly fan. I think we have the first vice president who's a Philly fan. He likes Shoe on Head. He knows Shoe on Head. He gives Shoe on Head references.
Who comes from that middle class, who loves the middle class.
Has a goon couch.
and is going to be an advocate for the middle class. And then also, you would want your leaders to be virtuous people in some way. Now, virtue is a concept that seems to be lost on modern man.
Brian, Goon Couch.
But, you know, myself as a Catholic who is deeply immersed in the Catholic intellectual tradition, I have some familiarity with...
I'm sorry. That was rude.
With virtue ethics, Aristotle, the interest of whoever is blackmailing them, rather than the citizen.
Yeah, I love going to a pagan for my virtue ethics, my Christian virtue ethics. Very well done.
That they're supposed to be representing. And Kamala Harris, I just don't even know where to begin with her. She doesn't seem to be a very intelligent person. She doesn't seem to be capable of speaking to the various issues. Right. She always seems to...
There's nothing there.
So what happened last night?
Kamala. What do we got? 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 Concession speech. Her concession speech was very boring. I didn't get anything out of it. I've now listened to it twice. Once on my own. No, 3 times. Once on my own, once on Adam and Stitch, and once on Asmongold. Migo reaction. Huh. I'm not seeing anything. I don't trust Guardian not to do a strikey. Ooh, let's try. This is 3 hours ago. 6 minutes. This might be fun. I also kind of want to check out. You know what we'll do? We'll do a little bit of him. We'll do a little bit of her. How's that sound?
Welcome back to our second hour of our special election coverage. Everyone today, I think, is making sense to the extent it's possible of what happened last night, as possible about why it happened and what happened. Donald Trump won a majority of votes in the Electoral College, and for the first time in his 3 presidential runs, he appears poised to win the national popular vote. But if you look at why
he won, this is 3 hours ago. How did they not know that he won the national popular vote?
He won. I also think it's clear it was primarily the driver, a rejection of the status quo in a period where many voters feel alienated from their leaders.
I don't think it's a rejection of the status quo. It's a rejection of the Democratic and progressive platform. Your platform was rejected. You got rejected. I'm not the handsomest man in the world. I've been rejected before. I would assume, considering I'm better looking than you, you've been rejected before too. So you probably know this. Maybe you're in denial.
And squeezed by high prices. The right track, wrong track numbers were 2-to-1, people saying the country's on the wrong track. And here's the thing that's really important. They feel that way across the Western world, where incumbent parties, left, right, and center, have met the exact same electoral fate post-COVID in an era of exploding inflation that no one had experienced in 30 years. This was an election defined by a rejection of a status quo that...
Or a rejection of the platform for Democrats and progressives, a rejection of putting identity politics over financial and economic politics, of rejection of insulting demographics and putting down people just because of their gender or sex. Here, not the gender or sex of the supposedly repressed person, but just because I'm a male, suddenly my opinion doesn't count. Suddenly because I'm straight or because I'm married to a woman, to a biological woman, suddenly my opinion doesn't count. Suddenly because I'm a Catholic or a Christian, my opinion doesn't count. Yeah. The majority of the United States, who is Christian, who is straight, rejected your viewpoint. Majority of America, who is white, rejected your viewpoint. You rejected the biggest voting blocks and then wondered why you lost. and then you insulted the voting blocs that were supporting you, or the members of those voting blocs that were supporting you, and you called them garbage and trash and German soldiers from World War II and fascists and murderers and hateful people. You were telling people, and I don't mean all the groups, you're telling people who love their gay friend or their lesbian friend, who sacrifice for their friend who happens to be in the LGBT community, that they don't love their friend. I'm not talking about, oh, yeah, I have a black friend from college who I talk to. No, you're talking about people who have gone out of their way to make their friends' lives better because they care for them enough to sacrifice for them, and telling them that their friendship didn't count and doesn't give them an insight into their friend's heart. Do you not see how that hurt your platform? That you called Hispanic and Asian and Black Americans white? Yeah, because, and by the way, this is mostly the lighting. I can turn off the light and I'll become dark very quickly. At the end of the day, I'm a Mexican. At the end of the day, I look like what I look like. I go through all the same hardships that everyone else who looks like me goes through. In fact, I get it both ways because I don't speak great Spanish. So for my community, it's like, oh, you're trying to be a Weddle? And then from the other community, it's, well, I've never heard someone speak such good English before. You speak really good English for a Mexican. But yeah, no. I'm the problem. Not you, you bigoted ass.
Big majorities did not like, even people that voted for Kamala Harris. Now, the thing about this is Trump and Republicans have an interest, vested interest, in interpreting this as a mandate for all of their worst governing impulses. All the Stephen Miller style Project 2025 dark fantasies of smash.
Leave the Project 2025 bullshit alone. We've all rejected it already.
The administrative state. But those ideas were never popular. Remember, we've been through this. They were polling at 6%. Trump tried to distance himself every chance he had from them because they polled so terribly. When you wrote down,
I like how they're in reality now after the fact. But okay.
What they wanted to do, people didn't like it.
Let them wake up.
That was not the source of this victory. You can see it all over America in last night's results. You can see what happened down ballot in North Carolina. Voters picked Trump by a slight margin at the same time they elected Democrats as governor and lieutenant governor, attorney general, school superintendent. And they have flipped enough legislative seats to take away the Republican supermajority and veto power. And you can see it in referenda around the country. And in 7 states, including the Trump states of Arizona, Missouri, and Montana, voters approved measures enshrining abortion rights. Voters in deep red Missouri and Alaska also approved raises in the minimum wage. They joined Nebraska in mandating paid sick leave to workers. Just to add to all that, New Jersey elected its first Asian American senator. Maryland elected its first black and female U.S. senator. So did Delaware, meaning the U.S. will have 2 black female senators for the very first time in its history. Delaware has given Congress its first openly trans member. What I want to say is that this is a nation that, because of last night, has suddenly signed on wholesale to the far-right agenda of MAGA and Trump and the Republican Party.
Well, MAGA isn't far-right. And Trump isn't far-right. And the Republican Party isn't far-right. That's problem number 1. You're misidentifying and mislabeling, and you're conflating. We're not your enemy, dude. Literally. We're not your enemy. I'm a Catholic and a Republican and a Texan. My best man at my wedding was a lesbian. My wife is Chinese. Like from China, bro. Who do you think your enemy is? Why do you think we're your enemy? Maybe you've indoctrinated yourself with your own bullshit. And you're so swimming in it that only now that you've taken a major loss are you reevaluating whether or not your presumptions and assumptions are true.
But we know they are going to interpret this election as a mandate for precisely that, for full MAGAism. And we also know they have a plan. It really is a destructive plan to the American Constitution, to American democracy.
It's really not a destructive plan.
Importantly, to so many of our fellow
It's only for how you describe American democracy. Yeah, it destroys the way that you view America. Guess what? You're not the majority view. You did not win. And when you won last time and you were in control and you tried to push everything, all your agendas on us, on the American people, it didn't work and people rejected it.
Americans, mixed status families, trans folks, women, working class voters are going to take it on the chin from tariffs and gutting labor law. And we also know Donald Trump is an aspiring authoritarian. I mean, the guy does not have a democratic bone in his body.
Why? Why do you keep doing this? Why not just take the loss and learn the lesson? Ask for a few days off from work. Maybe don't spread your bullshit on national TV until you figured yourself out.
He tried to overthrow the constitutional order with violence. We all saw it happen on national television. He celebrated, talked about using political violence repeatedly in his campaigns. And because of all that, we know they're going to try to do things to subvert and alter the constitutional order.
That's your interpretation. And more so, everybody who you're not talking to also saw the same thing and have a different point of view than you. And the majority of America said either we don't see what you saw or we saw what you saw and we don't care. Either way, you lost. Get over it. Move on. Move on quickly for the sake of the United States. And for the sake of your own career. You don't want MSNBC to go out of business, and you don't want to have another regime change on your channel like you've had multiple times.
Order. But the most important thing to those of us who are committed to stopping them is to remember their success is not foreordained in any way. They're going to try, and there are going to be a lot of people who try to stop them. And the outcome of that is as yet undetermined. And I'm not saying this from some place of airy hope. We've been covering Trump since 2015. We covered his first term. He tried to do lots of bad things and failed to do them because he is completely distractible and inconstant, because he's a vortex of chaos, because he cannot be stopped from doing stupid, self-destructive things all the time.
No, you can't be stopped from doing stupid, self-destructive things all the time like you're doing right now. Let's go to Rachel Maddow, because this guy's a dumbass.
If you are an American citizen who does not want to ashcan the American system of government, who doesn't want a strongman authoritarian system where the whole government is one guy and everything else just exists to serve him, if that is not the kind of country that you want, then yesterday's election means you have more to do for your country than you have ever done before. Because now is when the rubber really hits the road, right? We don't just flip a switch and the American system of government is gone. Democracy is gone. It doesn't work like that.
Trump being in charge is the wrong way to put it. Trump being president is not the end of democracy. It's the result of democracy. I wasn't crying when Biden was elected, and I hate Biden. I absolutely hate Biden. And I wasn't crying when Trump was elected the first time. I didn't want Trump to be president. So, you're kind of living in fantasy land.
I mean, not to be boring here for a second, but just getting very real. We now are just another one in the list of countries that has decided to, hey, what the heck? Let's try the strongman thing. Let's let democracy go. Let's put in an all-powerful...
That's not what people are saying. They're not letting democracy go. They're voting him into office to defend democracy. The people who you are insulting right now with this rhetoric voted for him to push against your agenda. In a democracy, majority rules. That means that the majority viewpoint is the winner. If you have the minority viewpoint, you lose the election. Basic Politics 101, Basic Voting 101. It is a popularity contest. This is a literal popularity contest, and you're no longer popular. You were popular, you got into office, and you did shit with it. that ain't Trump's fault. Trump's exploiting your mishaps, specifically the mishaps of the person that you wanted to win.
Full guy instead, see how it goes. There are many more countries in the world governed by that kind of system than there are governed by.
Oh, that's so stupid. None of these people are anything like Trump.
Ours. We are the only 248-year-old multiracial, pluralistic democracy in the world. And shall we keep it?
Australia, the UK, Canada? Really? None of these places count as multicultural democracies? None of them? I got good news for you, UK. Turns out all those slightly brown people coming from different countries are not brown at all. They're white. So you're okay. And then bringing in a strong religion when you're slowly becoming more atheistic isn't happening. It turns out they're also atheists in disguise. Congratulations, UK. Australia, with your strong Christian background and prisoner island movie type background. Good news. The drop bears are real. And you're going to be just fine. Mad Max is going to save the day. There definitely is no influx of other cultures to influence you. And there definitely has been no change in your politics. So it's just the taking away of guns to extremely automatically, politically change your culture almost overnight, multiple times in the last 7 years. The whole locking down your island thing, because of COVID, that definitely didn't happen and change your reality. Thank you, Rachel Maddow, for such a brilliant observation. That is complete bullshit and a lie.
A lot of our fellow Americans say we shouldn't. Now we know. Now we know for sure. But a lot of Americans, tens of millions of Americans, say we should keep that system. Which means time to fight for it. And yet,
democracy isn't going away. Democracy won last night. By the way, the same way it won when Biden was elected, the same way it won when Trump was elected the first time, the same way it won when Obama was elected, the same way it won when Bush was elected, the same way it won when Clinton was elected. And let's go back all the way through. Every single time that we get a new president, whether you like their politics or not, that is democracy winning. If it was a tyranny, then only the politicians that agree with you would win. Or only the politicians that agree with me would win. That would mean that we're under the tyranny of me. Or that we're under the tyranny of you. Luckily, we're in a democracy where neither one of us gets everything that we want. Isn't it beautiful? It's like a marriage.
yes, Americans did fight for it by working on this election, by trying to get the candidate elected who was both the...
I got news for you. Americans also worked really hard to get Trump elected. Apparently, there's some Americans who worked really hard to get Stein elected. I didn't even know she was still on the ballot. There's a Green Party guy. So, point being, you're full of shit. Everyone involved in all of this are Americans. Not a single one of them is not an American. If they voted and their vote counted and their vote was legal, they are an American, whether you like what they voted for or not.
The Democrat and the small d Democrat, she didn't win. The strongman candidate won instead. But now...
Again, he's not a strongman candidate. He's a last gasp, desperate effort by the American people to get their economics under control because they can't afford food or gas, because they can't feed their kids, because they can't afford tortillas or bread. The grocery store that I went to recently dropped the price of bread back to 98 cents because people couldn't afford to pay $5 a loaf. They had to choose to do this because the people who would go to the grocery stores couldn't buy their product. Therefore, they were hurting for business. We were on the verge of literal bread lines. Yeah, that means that people don't care about your political agenda, your feminist agenda, your lesbian agenda, your gay rights agenda, your Hispanic agenda, your bald guy agenda. Yeah, that takes a back seat to people being able to feed their kids and their pets and pay their rent and not be homeless. Yes, if you don't address Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people will vote for the candidate that does, or the party that does. The luxury goods don't matter to the lizard brain. The lizard brain wants shelter, food, safety, wants companionship. They don't want a computer screen. They want a human being. They don't want a video game. They want a real adventure. You're not living in reality world.
Now, history doesn't end. Time doesn't stop. Now we have the benefit of knowing, how this has gone in every other country that has been through a democracy to authoritarian transition.
This is not an authoritarian transition. This is one side trouncing the other side because the other side got it so wrong. And like I said, this isn't the best case scenario. A, Trump isn't the best case scenario. B, you want you want healthy opposition so that way you filter out the bad ideas and only the good ideas get through. But your party and people who talk down to people the way that you're talking down to people right now have messed up so bad that the American people have violently vomited you guys out of office. And violently gotten rid of you guys as the people that they watch. Your ratings are low and they will continue to drop. You will not be paid if nobody watches your show. Your show will get canceled no matter how popular you think you are. Do you think Bill O'Reilly expected to lose his career? No, but he did. Same thing can happen to you. Quit being arrogant and realize that your point of view is not the only point of view.
And sadly, there are a lot of them. We have the benefit of seeing what's happened in those other countries, though.
Also,
and what we know is
you
that the
aren't
more ground
right just because you think you're right.
that the authoritarian takes, the harder it is to ever get that ground back without protest. And part of this is because it's just psychologically advantageous for them to do this now, right? They're counting on the half the country.
Okay, so both of them are idiots. Oh, shoot. I was only going to go for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and now we're at an hour. I'm about to jump off. If anybody wants me to watch one more thing, tell me now in the comment section. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. You got about 2 minutes before I'm going to close shop. So if you'd like me to watch something different, let me know, and I'll do that right now. Because I still need to work out. Okay, Thomas, you convinced me. I was writing out a question, basically saying what you just said. All right. Hey, Thomas, what'd you think of the election? Any opinions? Let me know before I close out. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Anyone watching, Eric, Thomas, BS, anyone else who might be watching, feel free to ask a question right now before we call it a night, because I'm going to go work out. Oh, I got premium because the last 3 shows we all did together was really hard to watch. We were getting commercials every 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It was unwatchable. It was unbearable. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, guys. We're going to go to the music. Let me go to the big screen. That's all right, Thomas. I respect that here. Anyway, I love everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. For those of you whose political candidate didn't win, I've had my political candidate lose before. It's not a big deal. You will get to vote again in 2 years, not 4 years. You get to vote again in 2 years. So you're going to be okay. For everyone else, congratulations on your candidate winning. And for those of us who kind of don't give a shit, tomorrow we still won't give a shit. So everybody have a great night. Love everyone, forgive everyone, including forgive yourself and love yourself. Let's do the music. Good night. Regular show tomorrow. We will be doing some anti-apologetics tomorrow.
I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold they will watch in amazement. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal, make a